All right, let's get this show on the road. Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday, and welcome to another episode of Legacy Loading. Joining me today is my co-host on Party Chat, Nerdy Neo. How are you doing, buddy?
Doing good. Good evening. Glad to be here and talk about, what used to be an awesome company. Hopefully they can restore themselves to their former glory, but I don't have high hopes for that.
Well, we should hear a lot about them. Obviously, this is going to be basically what I think a lot of people may have forgotten about Bioware. Obviously, their founding, what games they worked on prior to Mass Effect, and kind of like the other games that put them on the map, too. I definitely know a little bit about BioWare's lore, but there's definitely some stuff I've forgotten. So this will be a nice little refresher for sure.
Yeah, it'll be good to talk about the good old days.
That's the good old days after 9/11. So I'm going to switch it over here now to the desktop scene. Let me move your character clip around here. All right, and let's begin, shall we?
Absolutely.
They started off as doctors,
Medical school and gaming, it's a sort of funny combination.
but gave it all up for a dream.
That's right.
I think they were bemused. My parents were a little startled when they heard that we were going to shift transition.
Times were tough.
No question that the history of Bioware, there have been hard times. There's been challenges.
Yeah, there was.
Basically, we had to make a choice that he had to go back to medical practice.
And times were great.
They keep selling. Kind of a shocking experience.
This is the fascinating story of a couple of med students who came together to form one of the most successful video game companies on the planet.
I really
It's so
like
wild to
medicine.
think
It's just-
that they gave up being medical doctors. to
Yeah, I
go
used
make
to talk
video
about.
games.
Yeah, I used to mention them, in real life stuff like all the time. I always remember Ray Musica's name, but I never remember the other guy's name. But the fact that they were doctors, I thought that was so cool. They went from doctors to video games, and then they just disappeared from the industry. And I'm assuming they went back to medicine, but I don't know what they did after they left Bioware.
Well, they got paid by EA, and then they're like, we don't need to do jack shit anymore. That's what
Okay, so they're
happened.
probably just off chilling on their own islands.
Basically, it's like what you saw with a lot of these studios, like when Microsoft or Sony or a lot of these people got bought out. Like Ted Price, it's like, what's he gonna do with, he's got fuck you money now, like actual fuck you money.
Ted Price, I've heard that name.
Insomniac,
Okay,
yeah, he's one of the founders of Insomniac.
gotcha.
And then, of course, you had these two guys. They fucked off after a while after they got paid. And then on top of that, too, you saw that with a lot of the Microsoft deals. People retired and fucked off as well. So let's continue.
But Bioware, I like more.
It's the story of Bioware.
Yeah, this is it's been a fun trip down memory lane watching these shows.
Yeah, it's definitely lives up to the show's namesake.
Greg Zeschuk and Ray Muzica meet in medical
Greg Zexchuk and Ray Muzica. Those are not even like, what the hell kind of names are those?
I think that they're Czech or like Polish.
Yeah, they gotta be,
I'll see if I can figure that out. But yeah, Greg, that's the one that I can never remember his name, but I always remember Ray's name.
Yeah, Greg and Ray, the Canadians.
school
Yeah.
at the University of Alberta
Doctor.
in Edmonton.
Ray and I met
Doctor.
sort of saw each other at university prior to that, but we were more, didn't really know each other, didn't have the same
Zeschuk.
circle of friends. It was one of those situations where we had common interests, specifically video games, and there were a few of us in the class that were big-time video game players. We had a lounge with arcade games and foosball, and that was our generalized hangout.
Dedicated med students by day, die-hard gamers by night.
Medical
In another life, they fixed the Canadian healthcare system. There you go.
school and gaming, it's a sort of funny combination. I remember sitting down for some of my finals, and it was a great chance because you usually got about a 2-week break, so I usually play games for about a week and a half and then study for the last 3 days or so.
I think it was always a hobby for us, so we never really stopped. And it's just something that we always, when we have spare
God,
moment.
look at how young they are.
While attending medical school, the future doctors
Yep.
are able to combine both loves. They begin developing educational software. Ray and
Right.
Greg teach themselves the art of programming, but their team
Nice.
seems incomplete as another med student waits to be discovered.
When we were doing medical school, we actually been just absolutely passionate gamers, and that's one
I
of the things that
think
brought us
Greg
together.
here actually was on the ESRB episode that we did.
Okay. Yeah, I've got him pulled up here, and yeah, it's already been 13 or almost 13 years since they retired from BioWare. They left in September of 2012. But
Yeah, right after
Uh,
Mass
he-
Effect
he-
3, basically.
yeah, exactly. That came out in March 2012.
Yeah.
He's gone on to do some other entrepreneurial things, started a craft beer company. I don't
That's-
see anything about ESRB though.
Well, no, he was on the episode talking I think it was him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He wasn't like on the board or anything.
No. Because when we were watching it with Bliss, one of the Bioware guys popped up. I think it was Greg because
Okay.
it's kind of hard to forget the other guy.
With our other
It's
partner,
it's
and we were interested
Ca-
in building something, I guess, that could help the faculty. And we recognized that there was a need for some online education.
Did you want to say something? I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I said like I always remember Ray. I always heard it Musica, but I guess Musica. I remember his name, but I didn't remember his face. It's Greg's face that I remember, but Ray's name that I remember.
Greg and Ray. It kind of rhymes. Greg and Ray. There you go.
Education, some computer programs that would make it easier to learn things.
So we actually built a couple educational things that were probably comparable or better to the ones that were available at the time.
So they got an Asian to help them.
And the addition of Augustine Yep provides the multi-talented threesome with some essential artwork.
One was
I've not heard his name
physiology
before.
simulator for patients. It was actually used by medical students.
We
He was
designed
kinda
this
like,
really simple
how would you say?
interface in C that would
The Ringo.
put up
He was just
text
there.
and, put up a picture
Yeah.
and you could make choices. And that was the first one we did. The second one was a gastroenterology patient simulator, which is basically all the educational stuff about how to treat gastric ailments, stomach, intestines, that sort of thing.
Fart sound
The team
effect.
efforts
I was gonna say they put in a
combo
fart
as
sound
the
effect.
savvy doctors sell their software to the university.
We ended up selling that to the university and having it sponsored by a pharmaceutical company. And eventually they were given copies that they could use Canada-wide and give to medical schools. So that ended up being actually not too bad.
All three graduate.
So
from
they were
medical
making
school
the
in
Canadian
1992.
healthcare system
They
better.
each began
Yeah, they
working as
were.
doctors in
And
various
they were
fields.
making
I like
bank
working
probably
in
even
small
before they got
towns
out of
and
college.
doing emerge medicine
Probably.
to small towns.
Oh, they
being
sold-
only
they got, like, they
100
sold
mile
that
radius.
software,
You get to see a lot of
so-
neat stuff when you do that, and you
That
help
guy
a lot of
helps.
people that way as well. And I thought it was a fun thing to do.
But Ray, Greg, and Og can't seem to shake their love for gaming.
What the hell?
We just started talking about how much we love video games.
Oh,
and
bummer.
how interesting this engine looked, and how much of fun it would be to start a company and actually make video games. And it sort of just evolved from there over a period of meetings, a period of time afterwards. Both of us just concluded at one point, yeah, this is great. It's actually going somewhere.
These guys are too smart to be game devs.
And the doctors give birth to their very first company, Bioware, in February 1995.
Happy
We formed it for
birthday.
the purpose of making video games, not medical education software, although that was what we were doing kind of part-time for fun. And we haven't really looked back since.
They begin work on their first video game as project director Trent Oster joins the team.
We wanted to see if we could actually sit down, a couple guys, hack together a game and see if we could do it. So we came up with this concept for this really cheesy knockoff derivative game called Blasteroids 3D. We actually said, okay, we can do this. Let's go full bore. Let's work on the game that we wanted to do originally, the bigger game.
So they begin working on that titleless bigger game, but the kids
I've not even heard of that one.
Descriptions just yet.
We were still practicing medicine quite a bit at that time because we didn't pay ourselves a salary for over 4 years.
Essentially what we did is we used money as working as doctors and from the bank and all these sources, kind of gathered it all up, paid a group of people that we were working with and did our best to get a demo done in about 6
Woman
months.
dev.
Back in the old days when, you had a smaller team, like I think it was about 13, 14 people, and budgets were tiny back then.
And so are their offices.
Oh,
We sort of had a couple computers
carries
set
over
up
to
in a
this
big
very
desk
day,
in this
sir.
little room in my basement, and Ray would bang his head on the ceiling because it was really short. And I just barely clear it. It was a little too short for him. We did stay for probably about 6 months
Jesus.
and moved to a little tiny.
What are they in a hobbit hole?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. We're in a closet.
One circuit and questionable wiring, all that sort of stuff of a coffee shop.
With demo in hand, Ray and Greg begin shopping around to various publishers.
We made a list, Craig and I did, of the top 10 publishers we wanted to work with. We divided it into two, each of us took 5, and we started cold calling people. And these are 2 medical doctors calling out of the basement of one of their houses, just calling people out of the blue and saying, we have something we want to send you, will you look at it? And in the end, I think after persistent phone calls, we got something like 8 or
It's like, they're
7
doctors, please don't send me
to
severed
make an offer
limbs.
on the project.
BioWare cuts a deal with Interplay, who is based in Southern California, and the result is
Interplay.
Shattered Steel.
I forgot about this game.
There's
It's
a
released in October
Mech Warrior clone?
1996.
Looks like
Shattered
it.
Steel
Yeah.
was really driven by the technology. It's what we could do.
It's
at the
funny because I
time.
just
I look
played a
back on
game
it
called
and
Severed
it's
Steel, and it's nothing like this.
We picked a fairly easy concept to execute. We had a graphics engine that displayed rolling hills and rolling terrain very well, so it made perfect sense to use it for that.
That's a good looking game for the 90s.
It was a
Yeah,
big robot
96.
action game, running
Yeah, it
around
doesn't look that
landscapes
bad at
and
all.
robots shooting aliens.
basically places you in the role of a planet runner. You're dumped down on a planet and you have to investigate a disturbance that's occurred on the planet. And you're basically driving a big giant robot around.
Look at that.
Shattered Steel is a hit with audiences. By 1996, Ray, Greg, and Og are riding high. But for one of those partners, the road to video game success would soon come to an end.
I wonder who that is.
I wonder. We only know 2 of them,
Yes.
so
I hope he didn't die. That would be a sad part.
that would be sad.
Yeah. I hope you're alive, Hog.
The team effort between BioWare and Interplay proved to be a match made in virtual heaven.
You gotta look up
with
this
the
game, Neo.
incredible success of their first release, Shattered Steel, which sells over 100,000 units.
Oh, wow.
The cover looks straight out of
At the
MechWarrior.
time, we weren't expecting anything.
The
too
box
massive,
art.
and it was a reasonable success.
This
We
does
never
look
really
not
think
that
too much
bad,
about
actually.
How successful the games can or should be.
Shattered Steel is available on Steam for $10.
They have to be
No
really
kidding.
high quality. We try and make sure that the fans know about them, the press knows about them, and that they're games that we'd want to buy ourselves.
But things for BioWare haven't always been so ideal.
Oh, I think no question in the history of Bioware there have been hard times. There's been challenges. Like any business you're running, for the first few years we were literally living paycheck to paycheck, so to speak. You're depending on that milestone check to pay the next payroll. We
Come on, I want to hear what happened to Og. What happened to him?
Minimize that, but it's
I'm
pretty
on the
tough.
BioWare wiki, and his name isn't
And
even
one
a
of the
link.
toughest times is right around the
Oh,
corner.
no.
When partner Augustine Yep decides to leave the company.
Oh, he just
Yeah,
quit.
he-
Okay,
he
okay,
has a
good.
vision of life,
All right.
and
We can pause it there for a second. He didn't die. Hopefully he's doing well, Og. He fucked up. Though. He fucked up though, man. He missed out on such a payday. How are you gonna leave? You had a chance.
Yeah, it's like those people who had sold like their Bitcoin in the
Yeah.
early days. Like, well, this is worthless. Then 10 years later, it would have made him a fortune.
Right. And then Christian Frades is here. Hello, buddy. Says I love the Mass Effect trilogy. I've been
What's
making
up, Christian?
I've been making a lot of gift bases on based on forgotten video games so they can have a cult following. And he says, "What do you think about Donkey playing Path of Neo?"
He sent me that video the other day. I watched it earlier today. It's freaking hilarious. Thank you for that, Christian.
I love Donkey. He's one of my favorite YouTubers out there. His Ultimate
I-
Skyrim one is the best thing ever.
I have heard his name a bunch, but that was the first time I ever saw a Donkey video. That was pretty hilarious.
Oh, look
Although
up.
I do have
Oh.
his game, and I started that recently as well, Animal Well, since the
Yeah.
Metroidvania. I'm looking forward to playing that. I've heard good things.
Yeah, I would say look up his Ultimate Skyrim video. It's gold. It still holds up very well.
I'll add that to my watch list right now.
Right. But yeah, but oh man, dude, Og, what are you doing, buddy? You left.
Yeah, I was on the BioWare wiki, and it lists Greg and Ray, and they're both links, so you can go to their pages. And Augustine Yip is not a link, so he doesn't even have a Wikipedia page. I actually had to Google him, and I'm still not really finding anything useful. He just disappeared.
He probably killed himself after he realized he fucked up. It's like, oh no, I've disappointed my parents not once but twice. Oh, let's continue.
I think his wife wasn't a big fan of the city we live in. I think the issue was they wanted to have a different life. than they were
Women.
having.
Basically, we had to make a choice that he had to go back to medical practice, and so he did, and we were reluctant to see him go.
It was sad in the sense
Oh.
because we had a good partnership, the three of us. I think in the sense the way it worked out has been good for all of us.
With little time to mourn,
Oh, if only you
they
knew
began
how much
working
better
on
it
their
probably is
second
for you.
game, an ambitious role-playing
Yeah.
game that's inspired
I've-
by their favorite genre.
I found right before they said he went back to medicine, I found his medical credentials, and yeah, as of 2019, he's on the board of American Board of Psychiatric and Neurology. So yeah, he went back to medicine.
He's probably making a decent buck then. I don't feel too bad for him.
Yeah, he's a doctor, so he's probably pretty well off, but not as well off as he could have been if he
He-
stayed.
Yeah, he's probably making a couple $100,000 probably a year, but he could have been millionaire,
Yeah.
double-digit millionaire with royalties and stock and everything, and been part of Mass Effect. Maybe he could have changed the ending of 3. Who knows?
Well, if they had gone with because one of my favorite authors who also wrote the Darth Bane trilogy in Star Wars, Drew Karpyshyn, he wrote. I don't know if he was involved, if he was the lead writer on Mass Effect 2, but I know he was on Mass Effect 1,
Yeah.
and I think he was on 2, and he wasn't on 3. But I know that he had like kind of like George Lucas with Star Wars. He had like story treatments for Mass Effect 3, but they didn't go with his stuff. So if they had gone with his stuff, it might have had a better ending.
Well, wasn't he also on KOTOR, Drew Karpyshyn?
Yes, he was also involved in the KOTOR writing.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
We'll probably get to that pretty soon. We're almost halfway through this video already.
Greg and I have always been huge fans of role-playing games. So my favorite and Greg's favorite is the role-playing genre. So we consciously went back to our favorite games of the past, all the games we played in the 80s. The Goldbox series, the Ultima Underworld, System Shock, and the
Yeah,
Moon
they
Age, and
made
Trail of
Neverwinter.
Condor,
I
and
think that's the
Wizardry,
next
and
game they're
Might
going to talk
Magic,
about.
and on and on. And we tried to
Neverwinter
combine all the
Nights,
features
yeah.
we really loved from those games into BG.
That wasn't their next
Baldur's
game,
Gate.
though.
Baldur's Gate.
It was really,
Yep.
guess,
I didn't know that they did Baldur's Gate.
Oh, yeah.
After 2.5 years of development, Baldur's Gate is ready for shipment in 1998.
Like I said, they got like their big.
As long
You
as
know,
you
break
got to
from
the
this.
shelves we were
Quick
at,
pause.
I didn't really think about how
Sure.
many copies.
Because I've got their list of games up here right now, Bioware. Baldur's Gate 1 in 98, and then 2 years later, Baldur's Gate 2 in 2000. And then we got Baldur's Gate 3 in what, 2023?
Yeah.
Like 2 decades later. It's like, whoa, talk about a big gap. And it was a well-regarded game. So it's one of those, a lot of times when franchises are dead for a long time, they bring them back, and then they're just terrible. And it did very well. So it did not live up to that, that long-standing curse.
I also think that BioWare was really well received for both of their Baldur's Gate games.
Yeah, obviously Bioware didn't do Baldur's Gate 3, but
but they did.
Big
the
gap
first
in the
one, and
franchise.
Neverwinter Nights, that was them. I think both of these are on Game Pass right now too. By the way.
Oh yeah, Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 just joined Game Pass like a couple days ago. I saw it show up in the recently added. I was like, oh, interesting.
Yeah, I think I bought these physically, but yeah, I want to check these out one day to kind of get a feel for my BioWare fandom here, because I didn't play these ones obviously because they were PC only games.
Yeah, did you play Baldur's Gate 3?
I played a little bit of it, but that's like a game that you have to really devote time to.
Yes.
And there was there's multiplayer, so I'm like, oh, I'll play with people, and then like everything that always happens is like, yeah, we'll do it, and then just like it's gone in the wind. But I don't know. Maybe I could convince the company boys to play a run or something. Who knows?
It potentially could sell.
And D&D fans are ecstatic. Baldur's Gate becomes a smash hit.
Everyone was so passionate about the game, it was just easy to talk about it
boy.
because it was a game that we loved ourselves.
Of course.
We try and make games that we really feel are important to make. We put everything we had into it.
Look at these peak graphics.
Where are all the copies of the game? Well, they're sold. We're shipping more, but they keep selling.
Personally, I'd rather play Shattered Steel.
Ray and Greg approached the design of the game with the same attention to detail as physicians.
I think we really believed in the power of the game. We believed that it was an epic role-playing game with a great storyline, a good interface. People would want to play it. But we didn't really think much about how many there would be. We just kind of made the best game possible, told everyone we could about it, did as much
Canadian
press work
accent.
as we could on it. And,
Very Canadian.
got
Very
really lucky, I
Canadian
think.
accent.
Success is even more remarkable considering the staff is made up of video game virgins.
Not a single person,
Wait.
Woman
on
dev,
either Shattered
woman dev.
Steel or Baldur's Gate, had ever worked on a video
Woman
game
dev.
anywhere else before.
Oh, that's what they meant by
People
virgin.
with all the
Okay.
Database companies or making signs. Or
Oh, they could all be virgins. Who knows?
Cup of Legend. Right, Boo?
Ray's telling the truth. No one on Baldur's Gate had worked on the game before.
They all shared
That's
a common vision
weird to
and
think
passion.
about.
They wanted to make
That's
an epic
crazy.
role-playing game,
Well,
and they were
it's
really smart.
quick
Wait,
pause.
wait, hold on. That's a fucking lie. First off, let's call that out here because they worked on a game. What are you talking about?
I think they're talking about everyone that wasn't them.
I know, but I'm just like, wait a minute here. They said,
But it's everyone. They could
know.
have been a little more clear on that.
Mr.
But it's,
Stifler for semantics over here.
I'm not even the one that called that out.
I know.
But it's kind of funny, like the timing on this, because I think it's basically the same thing with recent hit Expedition 33. I think that was their first game.
It was their first game as a studio, but they worked at Ubisoft, a lot of them.
Oh, okay. Never
Yeah.
mind then.
Because that's what I thought originally too, where I was like, oh my God, look at these rookie devs. And then you'll do some more digging, and it's like, well, technically, like half the studio's not rookie devs, but they hired like I guess like a bunch of people who was like their first time doing like music and stuff like that off of like Reddit and
Oh,
SoundCloud and stuff like
yeah, I
that.
heard about that. They hired someone off SoundCloud for the soundtrack, and apparently they
Yeah.
did a really good job.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of good, talented music people out there, you know.
Yeah.
But let's continue.
And we've been lucky to retain them, most of them actually, to this day.
Although success is well
Woman
appreciated,
dev.
the boys can't seem to let go of certain practices.
Yeah, we did for quite a while, actually, even after that point. It just didn't feel like it was the right time yet to stop. We'd only been working as doctors for a short while, and I think we wanted to just, I don't know, I think it's almost like it would have seemed wrong.
Go through medical school for like 10 years and then
what
quit
do
after a
parents
year to
think
make
about all
video
this
games.
video game
Right.
stuff?
Frankly, I were bemused. My parents were.
Like I said, these
a little
people are too
startled,
smart.
when they heard that they were going to transition from careers from medical doctors into forming a company.
I know my parents were really surprised when, actually I shouldn't say they were surprised, actually they expected this sort of thing. They thought, oh, this is a fad. So they weren't too alarmed.
But the boys are their own worst critics.
Wait, there is something wrong.
We look at it and we can tell you everything that's wrong with the game, everywhere it feels clumsy, everything that it doesn't do perfectly.
Our rules are very strict.
And that's, I think, the key to our success. Everything is as good as you make it.
They open their ears to the people who play their games.
Our fans told us that they wanted
What a
improvements.
Ran
shocking
letters.
idea.
Instead made
What a shocking idea.
system.
They get
Being-
direct letters from people. It's like, dear Ray
Being-
and Greg, you are
being-
fags.
But it's like, no, looking at the mainstream industry right now, it's like, what a shocking idea. Criticize your own game to make it better, not just be like, yeah, this is good enough. They'll eat it up. Let's ship it.
I feel like it's like a lot of interesting things that go on in the gaming media. Obviously, I think the death of criticism has been a big thing that we should also talk about as well. Because like you have like these people that like obviously are shills and like they'll eat up everything, and then there's like always those people that are just kind of looking for the inverse to just like find something, shit on it, get the clicks that they can. And even though like devs will listen to like the players be like, hey, this is shit, remove it. Like the infamous one with Star Wars Outlaws, they removed an entire mission segment because fans were like, this is fucking dog shit. And then like you go
But
online
props
and
to
people
that,
are like
'cause
going
I've heard
insane.
that the what was it that they removed? Because it was like
It was like a
was it
stealth
like
mission.
The forced stealth missions where you auto
Yeah.
fail, kind of like Spider-Man. Not
Yeah.
a bad idea though, because like in a game like that, it's like you should be able to, it's not a stealth game, so you should be able to, shoot your way out.
Right.
So props for that.
Yeah.
But what was it? What game was it? Just, one dev just recently, within like the last week or two, came out like he couldn't possibly take any criticism, and the only reason why people were criticizing his game was because they were paid agitators to, say that this is a bad game. It's like, no, dude, you put out a bad. Oh, Mind's Eye Dev, that's what it was, which just came out, I think, like a couple days ago, maybe today, yesterday. Yeah, it's like, yeah, my game isn't bad. It's people that are being paid to say my game is bad. It's like, no, dude, your game is bad.
I can't wait for the retrospective on that because holy fucking shit, dude. There was so much writing on the wall. Shout out McDizzle for keeping up with that stuff. Where he's like bringing up like the Glassdoor rating and it's got like less than a 2 grade.
And it almost feels like this is the next what was that asset flip game like from a year or two ago, and they like canceled it like the day it released. The day before.
The day before, yeah. It's oh my god.
Not quite that bad, but it almost feels like it's the next day before.
Someone, our friend Mr. Frank wants you to read something in the chat there.
Hello, Frank. My name is Jeff. My name's Chef. My name Grog. It's me, Gog. Is that a reference to something? I have no idea what that is.
It makes him happy. That's all we know.
Well, what's up, Frank?
How you doing there, Mr. Frankie Delano Mexican? I know who you are.
That's IJP, right?
Yeah, that's IJP.
Okay, I thought so. What's up?
Yeah. No, but it is so wild to think about like just this very like summed up history of BioWare. Like we're gonna be talking about like so much more after this because it's funny. They basically seem to have like made like actually really good games like way before this. Like I remember that they made Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, and I just remember a lot of people always say like those are some really good CRPGs.
Yeah, I didn't even know about the Baldur's Gate franchise until Baldur's Gate 3 was a thing, and I didn't know that Bioware made the first two until sometime within the last year.
Oh yeah.
But I do know, and the other thing is I didn't realize that Baldur's Gate was in the Dungeons and Dragons universe until like sometime within the last year or so either. Like, oh, okay, because I know D&D is a huge IP, and I was like, why aren't there really any Dungeons and Dragons video games? And I didn't know that Baldur's Gate was a thing.
Oh yeah.
Well, I didn't know that Baldur's Gate was Dungeons and Dragons.
No, I know you said that.
Yeah.
You made that clear. Don't worry. Don't doubt yourself, Neo. You had it. Hey, and it's also Mr. Pop Culture. Hello there, Pop Culture. How you doing there, you hoser?
What's up, Mechanic? We're watching a video about people from your homeland.
Yes, exactly. His actual homeland.
Bioware main Canadian HQ is in Edmonton. Yes, that is right. I don't know where Edmonton is, but
it's in Alberta, as he just says, Edmonton, Alberta.
Well,
Canada.
I mean, I don't know Alberta. I don't know where that is in Canada. I think that's somewhere in the middle.
By Montana.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where it is. It's like right above like Montana, Idaho area.
I think it's somewhere in the middle of Canada.
Yeah, it's West Coast Canada.
No, that's British Columbia.
Well, it's still technically on the western side of Canada.
Oh, yes. Okay.
All right, let's continue.
Tales of the Sword Coast. And the sequel, Baldur's Gate 2.
We weren't specifically surprised how well Baldur's Gate 2 did. In some way, we still are. Like we really don't set our expectations to like this ridiculous level.
People always like
BioWare branches out into the console
telling me
arena
Baldur's Gate 2 is like
with
GOAT.
MDK 2, their first cross-platform project for the Sega Dreamcast and PC.
We were working
I've never played this game. Have you?
I did. I'd never even heard of it.
Fargo were talking to us, and they sort of said, well, "Why don't we make MDK 2?"
I thought MDK was something Mortal Kombat related.
Cool. It'd be fun.
No, I've seen this game plenty of times before, but I've never played this one. This is another one of those blind spots in my BioWare fandom.
In March 2001, an enhanced version of MDK is released for the PlayStation 2.
Come, Toast. You've done well. Everything's Jake for sure.
We took the one playable character that was in MDK, expanded that to 3. So you could play Max the dog, you play the doctor, or Kurt. And all 3 of them had different play styles. So the dog was more just an action machine, 6 legs, and 4 of them could hold guns. Kurt was more a master of stealth and espionage. He could kind of sneak around and had his parachute and kind of ducking around corners, using invisibility.
This is a drastically different game.
Yes.
Drastically
And the doctor was a
different.
man of science, so he could combine items into really cool and interesting things that allowed you to solve problems with tactics and more strategy.
Good luck, Doctor.
I don't need luck. I've got science.
Okay, Neil deGrasse Tyson.
So a company started by a couple of doctors has gone on to a successful video game career.
Dr. Horrible.
But going back to their roots may be the best decision they ever made.
Then we got Pop Culture says, I have BG2 demo on my retro PC. Oh, that's pretty cool.
Nice.
And there's always, you can make your character bald in Baldur's Gate. So there you go, Frank.
Baldur's Gate, haha.
Yeah, puns.
Too bad there's not a follow-up episode to this about BioWare's after.
Oh yeah, for sure. This is like a nice like throwback to like remembering the games they made prior to like their super breakouts, you know?
Yeah.
We can't discuss the details.
Hey, Mr. Cream NATO, we're talking about another studio from your homeland too. Hello there, yeah, hoser.
Well, huh?
Yep. You got the Canucks. They're coming in.
We managed to settle that lawsuit. We finally reached a negotiated settlement with them.
Yeah, we could probably check that out.
And as part of that settlement, we're now the publisher of the game
what
is
happened?
now Infogram.
Yeah, I was gonna
Discuss
say,
the
what's
details
this?
too much, but we did have some legal issues with Interplay that
okay.
basically all within the last year, and we managed to resolve them recently. We had actually launched a lawsuit against them, but we managed to settle that lawsuit. We finally reached a negotiated settlement with them.
I didn't know that.
And as part of that
I
settlement,
didn't either.
The publisher of the game is now Infogram.
I ask for your discretion in this matter.
So we're quite excited about Neverwinter Nights. Neverwinter Nights is a Dungeons and Dragons role-playing game.
I hear
Neverwinter
people
Nights
like
is a
brag
huge undertaking, nearly
about
5
like
years in
Neverwinter
the
Nights the
making.
most
It's
too.
got, first of all, a 60-hour.
Yeah, I've heard good things about it.
Yeah.
That you can play through it multiplayer or single player.
Neverwinter Nights is just really, really big. It's actually really exciting because I think in a sense it's our next big anticipated thing. It's a chance for us to show that, in a sense, the Baldur's Gate stuff wasn't a fluke.
Oh, little did they know.
Dungeon Master.
You only got up to go.
Oh, you guys are just hitting your peak.
The DM can do things like enhancing the storyline.
Your task in this is twofold. First, find the water Davian creatures and bring them back to me.
I'm no hero. I just want a nice, quiet.
Oh,
DMs can make the game a lot of fun.
What?
Neverwinter Nights. Okay, I was getting mixed up with a different game.
What game was that?
I was like, I thought Neverwinter Nights was like a Dynasty Warriors clone, but I was thinking of
Fans to make their own content.
I was thinking of 99 Nights.
Oh.
Down a series of tiles and
99 Nights 2.
dropping creatures,
Wow.
encounters, and then you see it in the game. And it's the same.
That makes a lot more
functionality
sense.
generally,
Yeah.
So it's very easy to use.
For Bioware, listening to fans is a top priority.
I think it's important for people to play it and give us their impressions because they're the best possible audience.
Yes.
Then the
If
greatest
we could only have more of that attitude in
arrives
today's
via mail.
gaming
I
industry.
got this mail and I kind of saw this mail first and I kind of went, like, do you mind maybe thinking about this, making this kind of game?
Uh-oh.
So I ran to Ray's office and showed me. He was like, oh my goodness.
We're speechless.
We're like, wow, yeah.
It was a tremendous honor that he would consider us for such a game.
Star Wars, Knights of the Old Republic is
Yes.
another ambitious role-playing game that takes place 4,000
Oh,
years
yeah.
before the Star Wars movies.
Go. And demonetize.
Thanks, John Williams.
The Old
There you
Republic
go.
is a cool game because it's the first role-playing games ever in the Star Wars universe. So we're really excited and honored to do it.
Whoa, really?
First role-playing game? Yes.
So
When did Star Wars Galaxies come out?
Oh, way after this.
Not yet. No, we haven't met George yet. But we sat on the chair where he sits in the Skywalker Ranch. So maybe someday we.
George Lucas had the courtesy to say
So
hi
what
to
can
these
we plan on
dudes.
seeing from Bioware in the future?
Oh, it came out 1 year later because KOTOR came out. No, they came out the same year, 2003.
Most
Yeah.
important duty.
We also plan to develop some of our own new intellectual properties, and that's one of our future directions. And I think the other future of Bioware is we work really hard on retaining the people we have here, because we think we have the
Look at
basic
these
best
group of
employees in the world.
funny Canucks.
Bioware is a great place to work. They take care
Wow,
of
they
their
grow.
employees.
They grew a
One
lot.
thing we really
Yeah.
focus on as well is that we try and build the company as a unit, not the individual
We take care of our employees.
people work
Oh,
together
little
well.
did you know.
What we really try
Woman
to
dev.
focus on is building an overall company approach where you have
Woman
all
dev.
teams
Should
intermingle
we have an
and
on-screen counter?
Woman
It's a
dev.
pleasure to come to work because of the people.
Oh, you guys always got to
Greg
point them out.
and I always joke that we don't really do anything ourselves.
Excellent work. And I can't read you writing. I'm glad you're taking care of that.
Wait, hold on a second here. One second.
We don't really do anything ourselves.
1 second.
Excellent work. And I can't read you writing.
Does that say Playboy on the wall there? It looks
Play something. It,
looks
doesn't
like
look
something.
like Playboy though.
Playbot.
Oh,
It says
oh,
Playbot.
Playbot. I was like, now that it's moving, it does look like Playboy, but
Look, for a
Playbot,
second, I was like, is that Playboy? I gotta move back there. Also, Darth Maul.
Yep.
Proven once again, prequels are OP.
Are there any signs of ditching video games for stethoscopes?
I retired from medicine about 2 years ago, and I'm pretty happy not.
2
to.
years ago.
I think by the end I was sort of feeling it was sort of drudgery in the sense that every time I was doing medicine I always felt I wanted to be back here. You know, I'd be at the clinic, I'd be kind of looking at my watch going, ooh, geez.
This is
I
like
don't have
barely
any patience, I
touched
really wanna
on
get back to
Knights of
the
the Old
office."
Republic. They're like,
One,
wow,
the past behind him
Knights
is
of
a
the Old
bit more
Republic,
difficult.
cool.
I've still got a license to practice,
Yeah.
and I've still got my residency certification. I haven't practiced.
Bummer. I really wish there was another episode to this.
Right.
2 years, I guess now.
This was a good show back in the
Bioware's
day.
so busy now that.
Yeah, I want to see from here to 2012.
And I think Greg is the same way. I think he actually says that he's officially retired. I've never said that, but effectively I am. I mean, it's just Bioware is so much fun. It's not that we don't enjoy medicine. I personally enjoyed it quite a bit. In fact, I really like medicine. It's just that Bioware I like more. It's a passion. You know, video games are my passion.
Completely understandable.
Yeah.
Is a tale for another time.
What would you rather do? Tell someone they have cancer, or would you rather make fun video games and have people tell you you're awesome?
Hilarious.
That's a tough choice.
Yeah.
And you've got one guy who's kind of bouncy and easygoing. You've got the other guy who's very rigid. And for them, it works.
We're best friends. We've been best friends for like 12 years or more. I've lost count now, but
You think they're still best friends to this day? That's a real question.
Actually, he's a good partner.
That is a good question.
We have a good working relationship.
I hope
We
so.
complement each other's skills.
We'll yell at each other once in a while, and usually in front of other people, and they kind of freak out, and they're kind of
Freak
like,
out.
You know, it'd be really ironic.
how to carry themselves.
That fat woman did.
We always joke that between us we're happy.
Oh, what was
I
ironic?
think it'd be a lot harder for either of us individually to run the company.
If they
Together, we add up to something
got
more
bored
than
of
some big
doing
problem.
whatever it is they're doing since retiring from Bioware
Partnership.
It's really
and
good.
started a new video game company, got really popular and got bought by EA again.
That'd be hilarious.
It's hard making all these decisions all the time.
We're a pretty good team.
It's awfully great to have another person.
I think that's probably the best way to sum it up. We're a good team.
I like that old school logo.
That is a cool logo.
It's so
Oh, yeah. That's
wild.
too short.
It's so wild to think about this too, since we're looking at like the history of BioWare, and just like that was like not even like 1/10 of the history of BioWare right there. If you
Yeah,
really
that's
think about
barely
it.
scratching the surface, the tip of the iceberg. It's like, yeah, because their peak isn't even until after Knights of the Old Republic, and they didn't even talk about any of the rest of their stuff.
I mean, they barely talked about Knights of the Old Republic. It's like they just
It's like, we got asked to make the game, and then that's the end. It's like, oh, come on!
It's like, oh my god, can you believe it? We can make Knights of the Old Republic. And I think I don't even know if that was out at the time then too, because a lot of that footage looked like it was kind of like beta footage or alpha footage, because that didn't look like the final result, to be honest with you.
Oh, whenever they made this episode, do you know when this episode was made?
Ooh, it was episode 8. Let me see here. I'll double check with you on this one.
And what was that G4 Icons?
Yeah, it was G4 Icons. Yeah, it first aired May 1st, 2002.
Oh, yeah. KOTOR wasn't out yet. That's probably why it wasn't covered.
This BioWare episode aired July 28th, 2002.
Yeah, that's basically a full year before KOTOR.
So this was even before KOTOR. Like BioWare got like their own kind of like TV show way before they even had like their first like
before they really took
award-winning like mainstream appeal, like. But I look at like BioWare as like one of those things, There's like pre-KOTOR and then there's KOTOR BioWare, and we basically just saw like pre-KOTOR BioWare. We like they're like, oh guys, look, we get to make a Star Wars game. Isn't that cool? Little did they fucking know that KOTOR would be like one of the most iconic Star Wars games ever made.
Yeah,
probably like one of the most iconic video games of all time. Just from there.
Yeah, and many, many, many people's favorite Star Wars game.
Mm-hmm. Mine included.
Yep.
It's so wild to think about that too, because we didn't even like scratch the surface on this one. So obviously, BioWare after this, they made Knights of the Old Republic, went on to win a lot of Game of the Year awards from many different outlets. Basically changed a lot of like the story where people really wanted it to be canon for so long. They made a whole big like cast of characters that people love, from Bastila to Revan himself to Malik and everyone else in between. And when it got ported to Switch, I know a lot of people like were losing their fucking mind about that too,
Oh, oh yeah, because there was a recent resurgence where a bunch of old Star Wars games got ported to Switch and PlayStation, huh?
Yeah, not everyone got to PlayStation. Knights of the Old Republic still isn't on PlayStation, ironically enough.
Really?
Nope.
Huh.
So
it's on basically everything except PlayStation. That's kind of surprising.
I think the reason why is because Sony paid to do the remake, and then now
That's not happening.
That's fucking God only knows what's going on with that. They had that nice teaser trailer, like, look, it's Revan, and everyone's like, my dick's hard, and then everyone quickly forgot about what the fuck was going on with that game. It's like Jason Schreier's like, no, it's alive, bros, and I'm like, okay, Jason.
Yeah, believe me, it really is. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, okay, Jason. Just tell us about layoffs and let me know what your daily dose of devs losing their jobs to get your dick hard. Let me know. I'm convinced that Jason Schreier cannot get a hard on unless he reports news that a game dev got laid off. I am convinced.
Interesting theory.
Dude, I fucking hate Jason Schreier. Not because of like the political stuff. Like,
right.
It is what it is with that. I think my biggest issue with Jason Schreier is that he works in the gaming industry. And no matter what you think about like a game like Dragon Age Veilguard, like this was like the last straw with me. Where he's like, I don't even like the game. I just want to own the chuds. I'm like, oh, so you don't even like gaming. That's just...
Oh, is he the one that said that?
Yes, that was him.
Oh, my goodness. Yes. Attitudes like that are the reason why the gaming industry is in the state that it is.
Well, it's the reason why games media is like basically a non-factor and why everyone goes to YouTubers now,
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, it's even why a lot of his coworkers are now in YouTubing now, because there's no point in working at Kotaku, Polygon, IGN really anymore,
Yeah, it's surprising that not so much IGN. I expect them to be the last bastion of the last bastion is not a good way to say it, but the last one, the last big name in the video game media industry. It's like, how is Kotaku still in business?
I don't know, and that's why I refuse to give them any clicks and attention, because the faster they die, the better,
Yeah, exactly.
It's like these companies, they just shouldn't exist. And I know it's like, well, you're telling people to lose their job. I'm like, yeah, because let's face it, they don't do anything that's like worthwhile,
Yeah.
It's fine. It's like we could go other places. I'm saying, like, there's a lot of like people who I used to listen to that were in mainstream media, Colin Moriarty and Destin Legary, like they started their own, networks. Like,
yeah, I hear those names a lot. I don't know kind of what is it that they're part of? Like, what do they do?
So Colin Moriarty left IGN with Greg Miller, and they started Kind of Funny Games.
Okay, that's right. That's why I've heard those names a lot.
And then Colin got basically fired, even though he says that he never did. That's bullshit. He got fired because Greg ran him out of the thing, because Greg is a hardcore leftist. And
he's a very upstanding person with a great track record.
Oh, no. I always call him racist on Twitter. It's the funniest thing in the world.
Yeah, Greg, that guy.
I always message him. I was like, how come you think blacks are lesser than white, Greg? I need to know. I got blocked by Kind of Funny, which makes me happy.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. There's a lot of people I'm sure you're blocked by.
Oh, yes. I am how do you say it? Diverse range of opinions of blocked people, But no, but like yeah, so Colin went off, he formed his own Colin's Last Stand is what it was called, and now it's called, I think, Last Stand Media.
Okay, I've heard of that.
Yeah, and he's more of a PlayStation guy.
Okay.
I used to like listening to Colin. I still think he could be, but he also kind of when PlayStation kind of started changing up their strategy and he started to get more popular, it felt like he started to phone into like console war stuff a little bit more.
Gotcha.
And I was just like, I want to listen to PlayStation content, Colin. I don't fucking care about your opinion about something you know nothing about,
Yeah.
Listen, you can have an opinion about Xbox, but like if you openly are bragging that you know nothing about Xbox, I'm like, why do I care about your opinion? I'm paying you money monthly to listen to you talk about PlayStation, you know?
Yeah.
And then Dustin Legary, he used to be on IGN's Xbox show, podcast
That's what I
Unlocked.
thought.
Yeah. So, so now he's gone independent and he's left IGN to be a full-time YouTuber.
Okay, yeah, it's like I think that those guys are kind of doing their own thing now, right?
Yeah, I mean, God bless them, more speed to them. I've always liked Destin. He doesn't get too political, which I like that about him. But he's also very trolly, so that's why I kind of do it, because like PlayStation fanboys always go after him, and he just doesn't give a fuck anymore because he doesn't work for IGN.
Nice. I could see somewhat a little bit of kindred spirits. Sounds like
He's fine. I still hold a little bit of grudge on it for different reasons, but I don't need to get into that. But like you're saying, like the only real thing left at IGN, I think, is Ryan McCaffrey. That's really about it.
I always liked him because he was, he used to be at Official Xbox Magazine. And I used to listen to the Official Xbox Magazine podcast every week for years back, 20 years ago.
Yeah. Do you ever go on?
His co-host back then was Dan Amrich, who left to join Activision. He became the Major Nelson of Activision. I don't know if he's still doing that. But after Dan Amrich left Official Xbox Magazine and Ryan was hosting the Official Xbox Magazine podcast on his own, I was like, I play a lot of games. I should hit him up and see if maybe I could be his co-host. I never did, but I thought about it.
You could hit him up now. Try to get him on the show.
I probably could. Because I basically stopped following him after he left Xbox Magazine.
Yeah.
But I came across. I know he went to IGN. He heads up a lot of the Xbox stuff at IGN, and I watched a video of his like a year ago or so, and the video like he took at his house, and I saw a picture up on his like in his background. I'm like, oh, it had like a date on it because it was a picture of his dog that he would talk about on the Official Xbox Magazine podcast occasionally.
Yeah.
And obviously that was a long time ago. So the dog had passed away. So when I saw that on that, whatever video that was, I put a message in there. I'm like, hey, I haven't, followed you in a long time, but I see that Maggie was the dog's name, passed away. I was like, sorry to hear that. So.
Yeah, he has a really good podcast still that he does called Unfiltered. Have you listened to it?
I have not. I haven't even heard of that one.
Yeah, so IGN Unfiltered is when he gets like video game devs and people on too. So that's where I found that Josef Fares interview for when we did the retrospective of Split Fiction.
I almost said Splitgate. I was like, no, wrong game. Split Fiction, yes. Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, like I said, there's not really too many interesting things out there. People still go to Jason Schreier, love him or hate him. I guess he still gets like the scoops, but most of them are just to like kind of make they're not positive stories. It's all negative. It feels like, or majority negative. So he's found his niche.
I hear about people talk about him a ton. I don't follow him, so I don't really know. But he gets a lot of scoops. Do a lot of his scoops turn out to be accurate, or is he kind of like okay?
Yeah, he basically gets like the first out there before the official statements, basically.
So he's not one of those ones who just throws out random, hundreds of random ideas and like, oh, this one was actually accurate. One out of like 50. So yeah, he does have a pretty good track record.
He like I said, obviously he gets a lot of like the lefties in the game industry to give him all the information first. I feel like the problem is I don't think Jason Schreier likes the gaming industry at all. That's my biggest gripe with him.
There's probably a lot of those.
Yeah, like I said, I think there was like talk about that before where like, oh, well, we think a lot of these people don't want to be games journalists. They wanted to be like real journalists, and then they couldn't be a real journalist, so they settled for this.
Exactly.
And, to be fair, Jason at least made it to Bloomberg,
Okay.
So I feel like Jason Jason, I still think is actually good with information, but
Right.
but it seems to like he's like went through some like things, right? So like he used to be like the go-to one. Everyone was like, "Oh, Jason Schreier, he's about to drop something," and then I remember when I really lost respect for him was when he got into a debate with Yang Ye, and he basically went on there and just like spurged out and called like his entire audience racist. And then of course we saw Yang Yi fucking basically sell out later on, So
Yeah, it's a name that I've heard, and basically, the most I heard about that name was when he was in one of the
voiced
Yakuza
Kiryu.
games,
Yeah,
right?
he was voicing Kiryu.
Yeah, so I don't really know much about him either, other than he's in the video game. He's in the not in the like the actual industry. He's like more on the YouTube side of things, right?
Right. Yeah. Well, he's a voice actor now.
Okay.
He's an accredited voice actor. Whether you like him or not, I think I don't like him. I think he's a kind of like a I know who you blow kind of guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. So he knows people.
I feel like he's a nepo, if that makes sense. Not like a nepo
Yep.
baby, but he got fast tracked, in my opinion. Like he knows people. That's what I think.
Yes, pseudo nepotism. That makes
Yeah.
sense.
So, that is what it is with that. That was like the first strike I had against him. Then all the stuff with Activision Blizzard, where it's like his book about Activision Blizzard. I guess there was like some really shady stuff that I guess he was holding on to for a book.
Oh, Greg did?
No, Jason.
Oh, Schreier did. Okay.
Yes. So I haven't got any clarification on that, but it seems to from my research I did into it, it seems to kind of check out that he was basically holding on to stories to sell a book, which is kind of scummy part 2. So
Yeah.
and then
absolutely.
And then strike 3 was just like, oh well, the Dragon Agent Veilguard stuff, where it's like I don't even like the game, I just want to own the chuds. I'm like, okay, that's it, you're done with me.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. We're talking Bioware, all right? Let's get back on track here.
Back to Bioware.
But I've obviously, they did not even cover games like Jade Empire.
I was going to bring that up because that was their game, the next game after KOTOR, although, it definitely didn't get the fanfare like KOTOR did. But I haven't played it. I'm pretty sure you have, right?
Yes. It's been a long time since I played it, but yes.
But from everyone that has played it has said it's a really good game.
From what I remember, yeah, because it was more like a kung fu kind of free fighting game like that too. It still kind of had like a little bit of that KOTOR feel, but a more like satisfying combat with like the kung fu style and everything else like that. There was really cool storylines. Like there's one where like one of your companions is a little girl possessed by 2 demons. And you got to pick like which demon is going to reside in the little girl.
Okay. So yeah, because I pulled it up here because I'm like, I thought it played like KOTOR, just given, it's BioWare and it came out right after KOTOR. But yeah, on Wikipedia it has it listed as action role playing. So
yes, it is more up tempo, that's for sure.
Okay.
Like they got like the little fighting styles and art styles and stuff like that, where you change it up, and it's like crane style and stuff like that. Like I said, it's been a real hot minute since I played this game. I know that there's like one playthrough where you can end up with 2 wives if you do it right or something like that. It's been a hot minute, like I said. The most I can remember is like the ending, which I don't really want to spoil. And then like I said, my favorite storyline that I remember that sticks out was the one with the little girl possessed by 2 demons.
Maybe I'll have to go back and finally give that one a shot.
Yeah, from everything I remember, I enjoyed it, and I don't think I had any issues with like the gameplay being anything like clunky or anything like that. But Jade Empire was actually pitched as a sequel, I think multiple times, and Microsoft turned it down multiple times.
A sequel to
Jade Empire 2. Sorry.
Oh, a sequel to Jade Empire,
yeah.
And we never got a Jade Empire 2 because they shot it down. Gotcha.
Right. Like that.
Okay, I thought you were saying Jade Empire was basically a backdoor sequel to something else.
No, it was its own thing. It was really good. I think, ironically enough, the assets you saw that they were working on when they're talking about making their own original property, I think that was like precursor to Jade Empire that they were working on there. To be honest with you.
Yeah. So Jade Empire and KOTOR were both built on the Odyssey engine, so that makes sense.
Yeah. And like I said, you could feel like the KOTOR DNA a little bit with like the character models and stuff like that. But like as we saw from that little, snippet there, it's just like BioWare actually made a really diverse range of games. Their first one was a mech shooter. Their second game was CRPGs. Obviously, then you saw like the what is it, MK?
MDK 2. So
MDK,
was there an MDK 1?
I think it was just branding, maybe.
Did they pull a goat simulator and like skip the previous game?
I think it was like a acronym. I don't really know too much about MDK.
Let's see here. I'm looking at the wiki and I don't see anything about it being an acronym of anything. But yeah, it looks like there is an MDK 1. The game begins moments after the ending of the original MDK. So, okay, yep, there was a previous one, but it was not by... Let's see here. Original MDK was developed by Shiny Entertainment. Never even heard of them.
I've never heard about that one either. That's interesting.
So, and yes, third-person shooter as well. So, yeah, the gameplay of MDK2 looks like it's very similar to MDK1, but that is a very different style than what BioWare had previously made. So, yeah, they're kind of jumping around genres, going from, mech game to a CRPG to a third-person shooter to a, turn-based, pseudo turn-based RPG with KOTOR.
Right. It's kind of funny. I'm looking up this Icon show real quick before I closed out. And like the last season, they gave up on the video game theme, and it's just like J.J. Abrams, Suicide Girls, Mark Echo, Michelle Rodriguez.
So yeah, man, I wish they did followed that up with another one with from 2003 to 2012.
Yeah, no, they got the Doom franchise on here as one of the episodes. That's pretty good.
Huh? Did you? Maybe you knew this. I didn't know this, but looking through the list of BioWare games, they have a Sonic game.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's for the DS. It's one of the worst games ever made.
Yes. It's a Sonic RPG on the DS. I did not even know that existed.
Yeah, I've never heard anyone say anything good about it, but I need to buy it for research one day. And AC says he needs it for research because autism.
Yes, he is a Sonic fan, so that makes sense.
Yes, he is autistic. No, but like I said, we obviously we're talking about like one of their biggest hits out there, and then we didn't even get to Mass Effect. It's so wild to think because this was 2002, like I said, when this episode aired. So,
real quickly, Sonic Chronicles: The Dark Brotherhood does have a retro achievement set.
Wild.
So yeah, they barely touched on KOTOR, didn't even mention Jade Empire because that probably wasn't even in the works yet. Didn't cover Mass Effect.
Oh no,
Dragon Age. The Old Republic. Obviously, those came much later.
SWTOR. Well, what the thing is about BioWare too is that they had such great success with Mass Effect that EA bought them out. And on top of that, too, in order for EA to buy out BioWare, I believe that they made a stipulation that they also had to buy Pandemic Studios as well.
Wait, BioWare had that as a stipulation?
I believe I heard this story from somewhere before when EA was buying studios. That I think that BioWare made a stipulation that if you were going to buy, BioWare, that you had to also buy Pandemic.
What? That doesn't make any sense to me.
I feel like
It's like-
it's because I don't know, maybe they were friends with each other and they were already going through acquisitions.
Okay, so they're maybe looking out for each other, sort of thing.
Yeah, basically.
Okay, because I was like, what control over pandemic would Bioware have had?
I don't know. Like, well, a lot of times if you look at like acquisitions, like when Xbox was doing it, they basically when they bought Obsidian and they bought In Exile, like they kind of came as like a package deal, but those two also played a role in them buying Double Fine. Did you know that?
Repeat that last part.
They were buying when Microsoft bought Double Fine, they basically had to they bought Obsidian and In Exile first, and they pitched buying Double Fine to Tim Schafer, or Tim Schafer selling Double Fine basically to Microsoft.
Because of, did you say Obsidian?
Obsidian and In Exile. Brian Fargo
Okay.
and Fergus.
Huh. No, I did not know that.
And then we got Mr. JM the Elite Fan. Hello, sir. How you doing today, buddy?
What's up, JM?
But yeah, no. So like I said, I heard this one time, like a long time ago. I actually think it was probably Ryan McCaffrey who might have said it. I couldn't tell you, but it's been stuck in my head that it was like one of those weird facts that like BioWare only sold to EA because they also bought Pandemic.
Huh.
So that's that was like the interesting part about that one. And also for the longest time too, I was like so pissed off at PlayStation Sony ponies back in the day when Mass Effect 2 went to PlayStation 3.
Yeah.
And I was like, you guys didn't even play the first one. And I was like, you don't understand the story.
Yeah, I was a little jaded by that back then because I was like, no, I was all about the Xbox superiority. I want everything on Xbox. Now it's like, if it's on my console, I don't care if it's on other ones. But back then it's like, I wanted to be Xbox exclusive. I want the whole franchise to be Xbox exclusive, like the first one was.
Right. Well, like a lot of things that we look back upon, it's BioWare's culture, as you heard them keep saying, it's like, we love our team. We love how we work with them. These are our friends and everything else like that too. Like the work culture at BioWare like drastically changes once the doctors leave,
Yeah.
Like you just notice that too. And like you can make that case too with just how rapid expansions let me rephrase that. How rapidly they expanded too as well, because they opened a studio in Austin, Texas, and then they also opened another studio in Montreal, as we know. The infamous, Mass Effect Andromeda team, the JV squad.
And they were also the ones that did one of the games that I was so looking forward to and had so much potential, Anthem, right?
Yes. Anthem. Oh, Jesus. Mark Casey, was that the guy's name? Or Casey Hudson. That's what it is.
Casey Hudson, yeah, he was like the head of BioWare after the doctors left, because I remember seeing his name a lot.
Well, he was also with the Mass Effect team too. I know that. And
Yeah.
then he left BioWare to go work at Microsoft for a little bit.
Oh yeah, and then he came back, right?
He came back to head up Anthem, basically. And do you remember the infamous stories around Anthem?
Probably.
I think.
Is there something in particular you're referring to?
So there's a funny story about from all the leaks about how shit BioWare has become, that EA showed off Anthem, and I guess like the rumor has is that Casey Hudson was like, "Who's making that game?" So, ironically enough, that game was already basically just surprise. It's gonna be a nightmare, and it turned out to be shit.
Yeah, I did hear that, like, one of the main mechanics in the game, you're in a mech suit that can fly.
Yeah.
Like the having flight in the game, they went back and forth on that feature so many times, and it's like they didn't finally make up their mind, like, okay, we're having flight in the game, until like not that long before the game actually released, even though it was in development for like, and I say in development in air quotes, for what, like a decade.
It's something like that. The development cycle on Anthem was real quick and fast.
It's like it was quote unquote in development for like a decade, but all of the work was done like the last 2 years.
Yeah. And here's the thing. I actually liked how the game felt flying around in that mech suit. And
yeah,
like I would give them credit. They managed to make something work, the quote unquote BioWare magic. But it's just like it's really sad to think about like that's all that game had. The enemies were boring, the story made no fucking sense. I didn't even finish it. And it just, I wish like they could salvage something from that. Like
they were planning on it too. They were going to release an Anthem 2.0 essentially, and they're like, they made an official statement that we're going to go back to the drawing board and pull like a Final Fantasy 14 with it and come back in a year and re-release it. And then like 6 months later, they're like, yeah, we're not doing that either. It's like the game had so much potential; it could have been great.
Like that's another thing too. It's like obviously we've done so many shows. Like we got to go back and do some more Mass Effect shows. That's for sure a thing that we need to do.
Oh, twist my arm, why don't you?
Yeah, I know. Fucking here. But like Mass Effect 1, Mass Effect 2, Mass Effect 3. Like these are games that are like very impactful to both you and me, obviously. We've gotten into many fun talks about it. We've done shows. I want to still do like the ranking of characters one day. We gotta sit down.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
So we got to get someone on, another person on, and I don't know. Maybe we could do it on your channel. How's that sound? We could do that ranking one on there. It's like not like a pseudo top 5 kind of deal. Just change it up.
Okay. Do like each of us do our own, basically the same format as top 5, but rank our own listing of the characters, or would we do like a group rank?
I feel like like since we're kind of we'll talk more about this off air, but I got an idea that I'll pitch to you.
Okay. Sounds good.
But like like I said, Mass Effect to me is like touched my life in so many ways. Mass Effect 2 is like my favorite video game of all time.
Did you read the Mass Effect books?
Yes, I read 3 of them.
Okay, the first 3, I assume.
Yes.
The Drew Karpyshyn ones. Excellent.
Yes,
okay.
Those ones
don't bother with the 4th one. It was terrible.
I don't even consider that one to be real.
Good.
But like I said, like Drew Karpyshyn like wrote such great, extended lore to it. Like when you're playing a game, like one of my favorite things about Mass Effect was like in the first game, it's like, oh, you found like the Cerberus side mission, and then you start.
Yeah, because Cerberus is like the main thing in Mass Effect 2, and they're just like barely a whisper in Mass Effect 1. It's like you hear their name in like an audio log on a planet or two. It's like it's the secret thing that you're not even sure even exists, and then they took that and ran with it for Mass Effect 2.
Well, they also they murdered that Admiral Kahoku and everything else like that too. And like I said, when you read the Saren book, you get like all the background details of what between Saren and Anderson, and still flushed out more and everything else. Like, so when you go back and play Mass Effect 1, it feels like a bigger treat now.
I read the book before the game came out, and so like in when it touched on some of those beats, I'm like, I know what he's talking about because I read that in the book.
Right.
So yeah, exactly.
And then it's like the same thing too with the second book, and then you play Mass Effect 2, and then Tally's talking about like, oh, Cerberus fucked us over and stuff like that. And you're like, I know why. I actually know this. It's like because it actually fits in with the lore and stuff. And like I said, Mass Effect 2 to me is just like my favorite game because I just love how I love the whole cast of characters. Thane was great, Morin was great. The whole like thing they add on about the Justicars and the Ardak Yakshi to really expand the Asari lore and that. I feel like when we talk about Mass Effect, I think I said this last time when we did our Mass Effect show the first time, but like Mass Effect 1 feels like everything's like sterile. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, it's like too clean.
It's like too clean. It's like showing like this is the galaxy. We can work better together and stuff like that. And then you go to Mass Effect 2, and it's such a drastic tone shift in terms of like it's darker, it's more gritty. It's like showing you like the actual underbelly. It's not like that. Like even when you got to deal with like Fist and everyone too in Mass Effect 1.
Fisk.
Yeah, Fist. I said Fist. Sorry. But like when you deal with that stuff on a Citadel, it doesn't feel as dark and gritty. But then in like Mass Effect 2, everything feels like it's more dark and grittier. Like they have the hard-boiled cop in the second one.
Oh, yeah, he was. Oh, what was his name?
I'm blanking too, but I know his voice actor is actually.
Yeah, I hear his voice actor in a good number of places.
But like I said, they really stepped it up too, and they like gave you a whole like cast of like oddities. Like it was playing on like the Expendables hype, I guess you could say a little bit too. But there's something about like you get like the new lore about the Drell and the Hanar, and then you get a Geth companion. Like I said, the world of Mass Effect is so deep and like it means so much to me. Like I actually love the lore. Like there are people like that really know Star Wars. There's people that know Halo. For me, it's like Mass Effect, and I have like I always have those like real gripes because I played so much Mass Effect. It's just like this is like my nerdtism. It's like when you get something wrong about Mass Effect, it actually pisses me off.
Yeah.
But you like to add some more to this?
I'm trying to find the name of that C-Sex officer because it's going to drive me nuts until I do. But I know exactly who you're talking about, though.
Yeah, Mass Effect 2 C-Sect officer. Just type that in.
Yeah, that's what I did, and I'm not finding it.
I think he has like an Irish name, if I recall.
But yeah, I'll find it and I'll let you know. But yeah, I've read the books. I've read the first book. I've read might be the single like novel I've read the most time. I think I've read the first Mass Effect book probably like 4 or 5 times.
Mm-hmm.
The second and third one though I've only read once. But so I love Mass Effect. It's my favorite video game franchise. I say that all the time. But I'm more so like you were talking about, tisming on getting the lore right in Mass Effect. I am with you there. But for me, that's more of I'm more so that way with Star Wars than I am with Mass Effect.
Right. Like I said, that's some people's like kind of thing. You know what I mean? But,
Yeah.
Like, I know a lot of people like I said. Go on, finish your point.
Oh, I was just say I found it. It's Captain Bailey.
That's it. I knew he had like an Irish name.
Yep.
Also, did you know like Samara, like she's the mother of like Billie Eilish?
The voice actor?
Yeah.
No, I had no idea.
Yeah, I found that out recently because people were posting that fun fact on like a Billie Eilish post I saw one time. I was like, what the fuck is going on here?
It's like, what do these two things have to do with each other?
I was like, oh, I didn't know that.
I had no idea, but I hardly know who Billie Eilish even is.
Yeah, I'm starting to get that way with like music. I think Billie Eilish was like the last big one I knew about. That was.
I've heard the name, but I wouldn't be able to recognize a single song. I don't think I've ever even heard of Billie Eilish.
That bad guy song.
Probably not.
If it was used in a couple trailers, you might have heard it.
Oh, if it's in a trailer or something, then I might have heard it. But
yeah,
that'd probably be the only place.
And it's been parodied a bunch online. Like it was really popular, like with a lot of memes and stuff for a while. So like I'm pretty sure you might have heard it. You might not just know who the artist was.
Yeah, that could be.
Like who was it? Someone was like talking to me. I was listening to Revenge of the Sis podcast, and they were like talking about Sabrina Carpenter. And
that's another name that like I had no idea who that was until someone mentioned it like a week ago.
Yeah,
I was like, who the heck is that? And they're like, oh, it's some big name, younger person music artist.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay.
I had to call my wife. I'm like, who the fuck is Sabrina Carpenter? Can you explain this to me?
Yeah, someone in the live chat. I was like, who is that? And someone in the live chat explained it to me. I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, I never heard of her.
Yeah, no, it's just like it was one of those things. They're like gassing up this girl and listening to her music. I'm like, this fucking sucks. But no, with BioWare, and like I said, with all the things with Mass Effect, it's just like it's one of those like very few gaming franchises where I actually like had an emotional response to like a game. Like I think there's like a few of those games. Like Persona 3 is one of them. Season 1 of the Walking Dead video game for sure.
Okay, yeah. Well, for me, season 1 and season 2, I thought they were both, major, tug at your heartstrings.
I didn't play all the way through season 2. I think that's when I started to really get into card games, so I never finished that one. But
Okay.
it was fucking sad to the beginning, that's for
Yeah,
sure.
a lot of people like, the Walking Dead is like one of those biggest, emotional games. Like I felt the season 2 was just as emotional as season 1 was.
Yeah.
But yeah, those two, Mass Effect for sure.
One more thing since we're talking about The Walking Dead. What's the guy's name? The artist, the rates it. He does Invincible as well.
That rates it?
Writes it.
Oh, the writer? Oh, I have no idea.
Fuck.
You're talking about the Invincible anime, right?
No, the comic. He did the comics for both Invincible and Walking Dead.
Oh, it's a comic. I thought it was an anime.
No, well, yeah, it's an anime.
I don't really know
now.
anything about writer or about Invincible. I've just seen things here. Robert Kirkman?
Yeah, Robert Kirkman. That's who it was. So I guess
Okay.
Robert Kirkman. I guess when he was writing The Walking Dead, he made a pitch, I guess, at Image, and I guess what he told them was like UFOs are making zombies, and that's how they got it originally through.
Oh, obviously it changed drastically, but
he lied about it. That's what it was. He said.
Oh, okay.
So I think a funny interaction was someone was telling a story. He's like, the pitch was like zombies, and they're like, that sounds boring, and he's like, but with UFOs, and then they're like, oh, okay, and then I guess
alien zombies.
I guess it started selling really well, and I guess like the head, his producer, editor, whatever that title was, I guess he said, so when are you coming in with the UFOs? He's like, oh, I lied about that just so I could get it through.
That's funny.
Yeah, but now Robert Kirkman, obviously, after Telltale failed, he started a gaming company just basically to save some of those IPs. Like
is he part of Skybound?
Yes, Skybound.
Okay, because I know Skybound picked up and finished the final season of Walking Dead games, because it got announced, I think, the final season, and then that's when Telltale went under or whatever, and it's like, oh well, we're never getting that one, and then Skybound came in and picked it up and was able to do it. So I don't really know the details behind it, but that would make a lot of sense on the connecting tissues between those different events.
Yeah, I know Skybound also did a collector's edition of Walking Dead season 1 that was like Lee and Clementine as a statue, which I actually wanted.
Oh,
so
cool.
I was like, I gotta look into that because I really want to add that to my collection because Lee and Clementine are vastly superior in every way to Joel and Ellie as like a father-daughter relationship.
Yes, agreed.
Yeah, and
even though I haven't played The Walking Dead, or not The Walking Dead, I have played The Walking Dead. I haven't played the Last of Us.
Yes. Hey, we got the other JM here, the original OG JM. Hey, how you doing, buddy? Oh, hey.
Too many JMs. It's too confusing.
There's too many JMs. There's too many fucking JTs. There's too many Js.
There are too many. I know like 3 or 4 JTs.
Yeah, I know. There's too fucking many.
What's up? Other JM.
I think we joked about this before, but like when I was sending out packages to people, there was like a streak of people that I would send gifts, and their names all started with the same letter for like the longest time.
Yeah, you did. You did tell me about that.
I was like, what the fuck is going on here? But getting back on topic here, it's just like Mass Effect 3 is I think the one thing that like a lot of people will point to as like one of the first like real cracks in the BioWare armor. That and Dragon Age 2 obviously, but Mass Effect 3 I think was like the golden goose,
Yeah. I haven't played the Dragon Ages, so I don't know them as well. But did you play many or any of the Dragon Age games?
I played all of them except for Veilguard.
Okay. Because I know that Dragon Age 2 is, well, before Veilguard came out, Dragon Age 2 is considered the worst of them, but I don't know if that was worse or like in the general consensus of things, was Dragon Age 2 better or less regarded than Mass Effect 3? Because I know Mass Effect 3 got a lot of heat.
Mass Effect 3 is still fucking the Mona Lisa, all right, compared to Dragon Age 2, okay?
Okay.
And I think you and I are in agreement. I love Mass Effect 3. I think it's got a lot of satisfying payoffs.
Mm.
Morden scene really still hits me. Thane scene always still hits me. I still hate replaying those so much. I don't
Yep.
like replaying Mass Effect, not because I think it's a bad game. It's just I get really bummed the fuck out sometimes playing Mass Effect 3.
Yeah, I totally get it.
That's like really about it. I love the multiplayer. They did a really good job with the extraction shooter multiplayer elements of it. Uh, I wish they would have found a way to bring that forward some way, shape, or form. Even if I had to buy it as a separate add-on for like $10, I would have done it.
Heck, yeah, well, you know me. I still play that regularly.
Yeah.
Mass Effect 3 multiplayer. I freaking love it. They could totally release it as like make a new updated version and release it as a standalone free to play, and microtransaction it. And heck yeah, I'd
I
play
would
that.
still do it too. And JM says Mass Effect 3. I had fun with Mass Effect 3, but it's an incredibly flawed game. The DLC made it better. Like the Citadel DLC and stuff like that. A lot of that stuff made it a lot better.
Yeah.
I do agree that there was obviously parts that they cut, like Afterlife, and Omega, the Omega stuff.
Omega.
Yeah, like they cut all that stuff, and that clearly was supposed to be mainline story. That's kind of shitty that they had to as part of like the DLC package later on. But
yeah, I'm looking forward to playing through the whole trilogy again because I haven't played through the actual story of any of them in a really long time.
yeah, I'm going to do that too for our challenge because I got the PlayStation copy, so I want to get the platinum trophies for those.
Okay.
Just kind of do like what I do with Skyrim, just kind of go through and redo everything.
Yep.
But no, but like Mass Effect 3, it's just like they had a lot of like the first flaws, I guess a lot of people said. Obviously, the doctors left not too long after that game, or maybe even just before it launched. It doesn't matter. They got their money's worth for real.
Yeah.
And like, they got out right as the work culture and stuff was starting to shift more towards EA, obviously. And, when we're talking about like games like, say, for example, Dragon Age, which Dragon Age 1, like Origins, is such a great game in terms of writing. It gives you the player so much creative freedom. It has like a lot of really brutal, awesome consequences and storylines like that too. It lets you play many different races. So like you could play like a human, an elf, or a dwarf, mage, whatever. You can kind of play it your way. And
yeah, I'm sure I would have enjoyed them if I had gotten into them. I just never did.
If you like Fallout, I think you would like this game. It's just
yeah.
I feel like just from the creative freedom and choices that you have in this one. And it's not like Knights of the Old Republic combat where it's like it makes no fucking sense. It feels like Knights of the Old Republic combat, but it actually makes sense now.
Right.
So like that's like a big thing. But like going from that to like Dragon Age 2, and it's just like one dude, one city, and that's really about it. Like there's not really too much that you can really change in that game,
I will have to take your word for it.
Like the one infamous thing about Dragon Age 2 I hate is like the fucking fan base around Dragon Age 2, and I've said it many times. It's like all ISIS women, lonely, sad white women that just would get like fall for like an ISIS recruiter online and then go to the Middle East and be like one of the like fucking Jihad Johnny's wife or something like that. It is I have met like weird people, like a lot of weird people online. And still to this day, Dragon Age 2 shippers are by far the weirdest fucking people online that I've ever met. Like I swear to God, they are all creepy and weird to me. They're all older, middle-aged white women. Specifically, I'm not even joking. Every one of them, older, middle-aged white women. I've never seen a young white woman. Never saw diversity in that group. They all wanted the terrorist Anders. They all sympathized with him. They're like, "Oh my God, he's so great. He's so great." And I was just like, you people are fucking weird, bro.
That is very weird.
Yeah, I got kicked from a lot of like Dragon Age groups because I'm just like I was like I don't like Anders, and that's all it took. This was before I was like more confrontational with people.
This is before.
This is before, and it's just like I'm just
It's like,
what
hey,
is
I
going
don't
on?
I don't like this character. You can't be in our space.
Exactly.
Like, wow, someone's sensitive.
And there's like another thing too. When you go to Dragon Age Inquisition, which I like Dragon Age Inquisition, I thought it was a okay game, but the DLC for it was actually amazing. I feel like that was like, the honest truth I can give you. I liked a lot of the characters, but one of the characters in particular, when I was hanging out in a Dragon Age groups on Facebook, they have this lesbian elf girl that looks like Ellen DeGeneres, and her name's Sarah.
Okay.
And for some reason, everyone hated her, and I had no idea why. Like every like Dragon Age group I was in, there was like a lot of these like super progressive people, but they hated the lesbian elf lady so much, and I'm just like, why do they hate the lesbian elf lady? I am so confused here because I'm talking like they were writing like fucking manifestos, like fucking they were going to blow up the government or something about how much they hated Sarah the most, and I'm like, I can't keep up with you guys. You love terrorists, but you hate the lesbian elf lady. What's going on here? It's like the Mr.
I
Crab
don't know
meme.
what's going on. I just want to like my video games.
It was the Mr. Crab meme where it's like, what is going on here?
Like SpongeBob, Mr. Krabs.
Yeah, it's the SpongeBob Mr. Krabs one. Yeah.
Okay, I'm not sure I've seen that meme actually.
I'll link it in our chat here. Mr. Krabs. There we go. It's gonna pop up here. It's pretty popular.
I've seen lots of SpongeBob memes. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yes, I have seen that one. I just didn't understand the context to it.
But like, no, like Dragon Age fans are notoriously insane. That's the best way to describe it.
Definitely sounds like it.
Oh yes. Obviously, I've not played Veilguard. A lot of people I know that played Veilguard either liked it or they've told me it's like, it's not good, but it's not like as bad as some people are making it out to be. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah.
So
I totally get that.
So
that's how I am with Andromeda. Everyone hates on. It's like it's not as bad as everyone says. It's a perfectly competent game.
It's a competent game, yes.
It's just nowhere near the heights of the original 3 games.
It's just written by retards.
Yeah.
It's true. They like the writing in that game is fucking. What are they doing here? All right.
Yes, it was the writing, the story, the characters were all very lackluster, to put it lightly. But the gameplay itself was still fun.
Yeah, the gameplay was fine. The story could have went somewhere. Obviously, you could tell that they had bigger plans and it failed. But it's just like, oh my goodness, oh my damn. I don't know. Do you remember the controversy behind that game before it even came out?
Before it came out, probably, but I need something to jog my memory.
So this was like the first, like one of those like first, I would say like the proto like woke movement, I guess you could say. Like that's when we started to find out a lot more about like devs, and there was like this one dev, his name was like Manveer Hair or something like that, and he was like constantly like he was like one of the first like devs that I remember finding out way more about him than I wanted to, where he was like going online talk about how he hated white people and stuff like that a lot too.
Okay, no, I did not know about this then. At least not in regards to Andromeda.
Yeah, I remember this one. It's like he like I said, I think he's an Indian kind of guy, Pakistani, like right in that, like that's his descent. I'm not just trying to be generalized. I'm like he had like a really hard name. I'm 100% probably not pronouncing it right. It's like Manveer or Manir or something like that.
Okay.
Doesn't matter. He's a racist piece of shit, so I don't fucking care. But I just remember like that was like the first like time I think I could remember like finding out a dev was just a racist asshole, you know?
Okay.
And
Yeah. I did not know about that, but that does track.
and I just remember like there's like a lot of like early memes online where it's like, oh, this game is going to like not have white people in it and stuff like that too, you know? It's like, oh
It's
yeah, you
like,
know.
no, the main characters are all, the protagonists of the game are white.
Well, the funny thing is, if you auto default away from that, they had to fix that patch, but you couldn't be a white guy originally on launch.
Well, really?
If you went to customize, and I had this for a fact because when I went to like the whitest setting, it made my guy like fucking Asian. All right, he looked like Jet Li more than anyone else. All right.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I know it didn't launch in a great state, but
Mhm.
they fixed all the bugs and stuff. Because I bought it about a year after it came out, and I didn't have any bugs with it.
No, I was a day one buyer, and I was just like, holy shit, they actually got rid of the white people.
No, I did not know about that.
Yeah, no, that was like one of those like that was like the aha moment for me. You know, it's like that was like you know they always go like, well, what radicalized you? I was like, well, you know, a lot of stuff, but like that was the first time for gaming, I would say, where I was like, what the hell's going on here? You know?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's like we're talking like very prototype, you know, early like Twitter and like Facebook stuff. I think the site was called Heat Street, which is where I was like reading it on, and that doesn't even exist anymore.
Okay, I haven't heard of that.
Yeah, but yeah, man, just Andromeda has like one of the most try hard Reddit characters ever, and I fucking hate her to this very day.
Oh, are you talking about Cora?
No,
Or
Cora was fine. I'm talking about the lesbian Scottish scientist lady.
Suvi?
I fucking despise that cunt so much. I despise that character so much because it is like I'm a try-hard Redditor. Like that's what it feels like, all right? She's a scientist who believes in God, who's a lesbian and all this other crazy shit like that too. And you know what? I remember this. I don't know if you caught on to this, but I got like a lot of heat back in the day because I pointed this out. I'm like, you know, they're making this mission to kind of save the human race, but like everyone's gay. Like you know, it's like we're trying to
something here doesn't add up.
Yeah, exactly. It's like everyone they're like we're gonna repopulate and save the fucking world by making sending all the gays to Andromeda. You know, it was it was just like so funny because I'm just like, why is there so many gay people? And I pointed out, I was like, because I'm like, logically speaking, if you're trying to save the human race and you're sending them on crazy variable missions, you know, I don't think you're gonna have like surrogacy and stuff like all set up. You're gonna want to have like, you know, more natural breeding processes, right?
Yeah, remember what was it? Moonraker, right? They sent like 7 men and like 20 women to go repopulate.
Yeah.
Or at least that was the plan.
But like I said, that was one of the things where it's like this was like one of the like first examples of what would eventually be called woke, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you know, Andromeda definitely had that for sure. And Inquisition had it, but not as as a very obvious, you know, noticeable extent as Andromeda did.
Okay.
Like you know, like women bosses, everything, weird haircuts, terrible graphics designs, homosexuals everywhere. And I'm not saying that as like trying to be like a negative, but I'm just like this was like the first like go-to thing I could point to is like when's like the first time you really noticed like this change in writing style, and it was like very in your face, you know. And Andromeda was definitely one of those.
Yeah, I would say it was one of them because you could definitely see some of that stuff a little bit in Mass Effect 3.
Yeah,
but yeah, they definitely, stepped it up more so in Andromeda.
Oh, they do you remember like the final update to Andromeda?
Well, I played it. Like I said, I played it like a year after it came out, so I probably had that update by default.
Well, there was that Jal, right? The new alien species there.
Yeah, the Angaran.
Yeah, they made him gay as their final update. Like they just like added an option just to make him bisexual.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, that was like one of the funniest things in the world because there's like, this is what you choose to go out with, you know?
I think that was just in the game by default when I played it. I didn't take that option, but I think 'cause I played through it more than once. I did a male character and then I did a female character, and I think it showed me like, hey, you can romance this character when I was playing, both genders. So I think it was just in there by the time I played it.
Yeah, no, that wasn't in the original base game.
Okay, but it's like, yeah, go and these aliens in other galaxy are gay too. It's like, what are the odds?
What's going on here? But like I said, it was just funny because as like a person that actually tried to give Andromeda like the fairest shake I could.
Yeah,
it was just like that. This is what they choose to go out on, huh? This is your final shot, huh?
Yeah. And if Mass Effect 4 ever actually happens, that could have been the final entry into the Mass Effect franchise. And yeah, what a great way to potentially have gone out.
Like I said, the problem with Bioware now is obviously mismanagement. That is very clear that it doesn't feel like this is all EA's fault. It just feels like the doctors were really like the heart and soul of that company. And
yeah,
absolutely. I feel like after we watched that, initial like just like that 20-minute video, just felt like that those were like the people that wanted to game. Like they put their heart and soul in everything they did. They went out and tried to find the best talent, the best people to work with. They made like a very big point. It's like, when you're here at Bioware, you're here at Bioware. We're going to treat you like family and stuff like that,
Yeah, they definitely have their hearts in the right place.
And, Midwestern kindness, that Canadian charm as everything else out there. But, those guys were like visionaries. They were go-getters, obviously. As you saw, like they're like, oh, we get to make KOTOR, and then KOTOR is like a fucking hit. They went out there and they made like their first, video game is technically like software to help, the medical field and stuff like that.
Yeah, a lot of times people like go into making games, and it's like they're starting from ground zero. Like these guys were already doctors, and they started making games. It's like they are already had their life planned out for them. They decided go in a different direction. So if you make that kind of change, I would assume it's because you want to.
Yeah, and like I said, they were too smart to make games. That's just what it feels like. And it turned out really well for them. It's hard to argue that. They really were there for like all the amazing moments in BioWare history. And then after they left, you just see this noticeable sharp decline in basically they had like one dead cat bounce with Inquisition. And then that's it.
It'd be interesting if even after let's see here, because they left in 2000. Well, okay, never mind. I just answered my own question because I was thinking about how long that they were still there after the EA acquisitions. Like they were still there for a few years.
Yeah,
so.
They were there for Mass Effect 1 and Mass Effect 2, Mass Effect 3, and I think Dragon Age, the original Dragon Age.
Dragon Age Origins was 2009. So yep.
Yeah, and then when did Dragon Age 2 come out?
Dragon Age 2 was 2011. So yeah.
Yeah, they basically saw Dragon Age 2 and like, we're out.
Yeah. So, well, never mind. I answered my own question.
Yeah, like I said, they were there for all the hits. They teamed up with great devs like Drew Karpyshyn and Casey Hutton and all that other, like, a lot of talent. Like you saw like what they kept saying. They were very focused on building a studio, building culture.
Yeah.
They cashed out at the right moment. A lot of people, they say that you're only as good as your last game. And I know like people like to say like, well, Mass Effect 3 like wasn't the best. But I feel like those people are kind of just like really letting the ending get to them. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, agreed.
I feel like they went out with their last big hit, with Mass Effect 3, and they left at the perfect time because everything after them, I don't know if they would really have put their heart and soul into games like Anthem, or if they would have put their heart and soul into games, like uh, Veilguard or anything else like that.
Yeah, that would have been interesting, see how something like Anthem turned out if they had stuck around.
Yeah. But no, like I said, BioWare, obviously there's always that debate, what is the issue? Is it EA or is it BioWare? I think a lot of people originally went it was probably like 99 EA, 1% BioWare. But
Yeah, probably.
But as the years gone on and the more we learn about, like, obviously after the doctors left and after, the changes, the massive expansions, and then the such, the follow-ups where basically they contracted right back down to just Edmonton again.
Yeah.
I feel like it really also is probably leaning more towards, it's now probably 75% more, BioWare and 25% EA at this point.
Yeah.
But, hey, they're last bullet, Mass Effect 4.
Yeah, no matter what happens, I will be playing it. I don't know if I'll be playing it day one, but I'll play it no matter what.
You're going to be playing it day one. This is like, it's like the last ride. It's like when you go see, Fast and Furious with Paul Walker. It's just like, this is the last time. We got to go there for Paul,
Yeah, no, yeah, I definitely will be playing it, but I don't buy anything day one, so
I feel like this is we must do it because we got to get the day one reactions, man. You can't let this one wait forever.
we'll see. Well, it depends off if it even happens, but we'll see.
Right. It just feels like there's like I want to say this, like I'm gonna buy like the next God of War game day one because I feel like I'm already committed to the series. So I want to see how, if they make a new one, I want to see how it plays out.
Yeah.
And it's like I'm gonna get Ghost of Yote, but like after that, it's like those are like the only two games I need to see. Besides that, I'm with you on some other games. It's like I don't really need to go out there and get it day one. I mean, like that's the best thing about Game Pass, though, is like there's some games I can, like, if I'm not excited for it, but I want to try them out, I can try them out on that way.
Yeah, that's I wouldn't expect it to be on Game Pass, but it would eventually come to Game Pass Ultimate. Usually, like their EA's big releases, because EA Play is part of Game Pass Ultimate. Usually, their big name releases come to get added into the EA Play service, and also Game Pass Ultimate about a year after they release. So, I know the last two big ones, at least that I was interested in, was Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor, and those both launched into EA Play almost exactly a year after their release date.
Right, and I don't know. Do you have any closing thoughts about BioWare before we kind of land this plane, as AC would say?
Yeah, it's just it was at one point it was the what's the cream of the crop, essentially. Everyone, BioWare could do no wrong, and then it's kind of sad to see how the mighty have fallen. But who knows? Maybe they'll be able to redeem themselves and return to their former glory. I don't have high hopes for that, but you never know. Future's full of surprises.
Yeah, well, like I said, Mass Effect 4 basically sounds like it's going to be their last shot.
Probably their swan song.
Yeah, it might very well be their swan song. It might very well not be. If it's really good, then it's like, we're back, baby. But
I hope that they just knock it out of the park.
But like I said, it was good to catch up and relearn my BioWare history. Like I said, there's a lot of games that I knew they made, but I just didn't realize just You know, they were iconic before they became super iconic. You know what I mean? That's the funny part to think
Yeah,
about it.
exactly. Yeah, and I learned a bunch too because I didn't even know about Shattered Steel. I learned about Baldur's Gate, MDK. I didn't even know that those were Bioware.
I knew MDK was, but I didn't remember it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I know what you mean.
Yeah, I feel like that was the one that I was like, I remember this one, but I don't remember this one. You know, it's just like it's kind of like Oni. It's like that was published by Rockstar, but made by Bungie.
Okay, yeah, I never played it, but I remember seeing that game.
That's kind of like the same outcome with that one. It's just more so like, yeah, I knew that Bungie made a game like that, but I just forgot it existed. It's kind of like the same thing with MDK. It's like, yeah, I knew about it, but I forgot it existed.
Right. Yeah, kind of a niche game.
Yeah. So yeah, that was I hope people got a good memory about, BioWare. I hope you learned something today, folks. Neo, would you like to plug yourself before we head out?
Yeah, sure. So, last thing, tomorrow night is my last stream before the summer break. And Dude and I are going to be doing our next episode of Achievement Chasers, talking about our achievement hunting over the course of May. And I'll have a lot to talk about. But other than that, I will be gone starting next Tuesday. And I basically won't be back online again until late July. So, I had a lot of fun talking about my once favorite development company and learning about a bunch more about them tonight. So thanks for having me on.
Oh, no problem. Like I said, I've been getting a lot of good feedback from doing these shows from a lot of people, so I'm happy to keep doing them. Definitely appreciate you coming on. Also, reach out to our friend Mr. IJP Mexican for party chat.
Okay, absolutely.
Yeah, give him a quick holler after the show because he said he's willing to come on.
Cool. I do have him written down on my list of people that I would like to have on sometime, so I will bump him up the list.
Right. As for me, folks, we're off until Saturday because I don't know. I wanted to play a game on Friday, but you know what? I'm not a big guy who likes to stream myself playing games. You know, I will do it from time to time. I gotta be inspired, but as it stands right now, no stream on Friday. Maybe that will change, but most likely not. And we will be back on Saturday, and we'll be doing a noon special with Smooth the DJ, DJ Axis, and Paul Hadouken. And it's gonna
be double DJs.
Yeah, all the DJs. I was gonna make a corny joke, but I said, nah, let's bail out of that one. Let's pull out. Let's buzz the tower. Let's not do it. And
all right.
We're going to be talking about video game composers in another retrospective. We're going to be talking about our favorite video game composers, who they are, where they are from, and what they have done. So it's going to be very fun. I hope Paul has done some research on this one. He likes to be seat of his pants. I'll probably have to send another reminder. It's like, hey guys, this is more of like a really detailed show. So let's try to keep it a little bit more detailed on this one. Let's try to educate the audiences.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I look forward to that.
Yeah, and also, like I said, since we didn't do it, if you didn't watch the shows last night, Neo did a top 5 licensed games with Nightmare and our other co-host, Mr. Ryan or Legion Gaming. I don't know how to say his name. It's like Legion LG something.
Oh well, yeah. Legion Gaming LG 2076 is his Twitter @.
Yeah, he needs to change that. We're gonna yell at him. That's his punishment for missing the last party chat. Is that he has to change his Twitter handle. The council has spoken. If you guys want to check that out too, and the other top 5 episodes we've done with Jason, myself, and many other people, please go check out Neo's channel. And if you also are interested too, last night we did the trial of Phil Spencer, and that was between myself and, of course, Extra Zero as the prosecutor, and I was the defense with Judge Cream NATO. And if you guys want to hear a really good argument about Xbox branding and from two people who actually know what they're talking about with video games, I'd say go check that episode out as well as Eddie Backlog too. If you can't,
that was a great stream.
Yeah, what'd you think about that? Since I have you on here, real quick.
Oh, that was a lot of fun. I enjoyed watching. Well, more so just listening to it. But you guys both made a lot of great points. I think you probably saw it in my comment, but I just can't believe that. When Game Pass was such a huge element of that stream, and no one called Extra Zero on it because he keeps calling it Games Pass. It's not Games Pass. But other than that, I love it.
East Coast accent. That's why I let it go.
So if I was the judge, I would have taken a couple points off for that. But that was a fun stream. I enjoyed listening to that one.
But yeah. So yeah, everyone, thank you. If you can, please leave a like and a comment. A small sacrifice to the algorithm gods. It helps this channel grow. And we've been having a very decent growth. I think since I've redone this format, I've gained like 30 subscribers. So
nice.
That's been pretty good. So I do appreciate everyone for coming by. And like I said, we will see you all Saturday, noon Central Time. Until then, everyone have a great rest of your week. Stay cool and stay out of trouble.